The Palm Z22 was an attempt at reaching an entry-level market with something distinct from other offerings like the Tungsten, aimed at a professional crowd. Sporting a white plastic shell and a dearth of ports, it's simple and clean while offering a decidedly low-resolution 160 by 160 STN display with the characteristic slow response time and lower image quality of that technology, say, compared to TFT. That said, I don't mind this display and would not have minded using it to view my daily calendars. It's great for PDA functionality, but not so much for other things, but we'll get to that in a moment. The Z22 also lacks audio hardware, instead beeping like a bee farting in your ear. Although it does sport infrared.
So this is the Z22 in action, so we'll hit the power button here, and the screen illuminates, showing us everything that we have access to. So this is your home screen. You can do all sorts of built-in things. Now there is no software on this at this point because I pretty much just got it out of the box like this. So as far as I could tell, it was given away factory restored, I believe. Anyway, so it comes with some basics, not a lot of exciting things. So a calculator, calendar, memos, and some basic stuff here. So we might as well look at some of the more interesting things on here. So for instance, why don't we start with the most interesting thing, which is the calculator. Ooh, look, I'm going to calculate things. Here we go. Here we are. Yes, I'm almost 29 years old. Alright, so after doing that, so this is just a point of interest here. We've got our screen here, and to access a few features, we can press these buttons. For instance, this home. This accesses kind of a drop-down menu if you're in an application that supports that. That is the hot sink right there, and I'm going to be demonstrating that later. And this is a handy find function. These go to your address book and calendar, respectively, and this is a little 5-way joypad, I guess. Well, when I install some games later, I assume they'll be taking advantage of that. But right now, there isn't too much to see. As you can see, the screen is fairly bright, and considering the age of the device being launched sort of over 10 years ago now, it's in very good condition, and it's quite attractive to look at as well. So I'll demonstrate it by showing you a photo. It's got some preloaded photos here, and there's a nice butterfly for you. So I'll demonstrate a couple more things. So for instance, if we wanted to access a menu, we press that as I mentioned before, and if the application supports it, it will show you a drop down. So for instance, if I wanted to zoom, oh look, I've zoomed, and I can even drag it around. So as you can see, it takes a second for the screen to refresh, but it's really not so bad. It's quite responsive and zippy, so there's really nothing to complain about there. And especially when we're thinking about this for the time it was released, it's actually really nice to look at, I feel. I quite like the screen on this, to be honest. So we'll go back to home, and you can see it's really quick as well. That was instant. And let's really put this in perspective. I'm going straight into the Photos app, and bang, it loads a photo. There's really nothing to complain about there. So you tap on the screen if you want to go back, and you have a few views here for your photos. So for instance, this one will tell you all about the individual photos themselves. So you can see it comes with 3 sort of stock photos to give you an idea of what each of them will look like at different resolutions. So for instance, the first one's 160 by 160, so on and so forth. So just to put it in perspective, I'm not going to show you that because it's literally a picture of the sky. You can barely tell anything. But we look at this one, and it looks kind of nice, I guess. And hey, you know, as before, I'm going to zoom in on that. So I'm going to open the drop-down menu, and I'm going to select zoom. And there we go. Now I'm zoomed in on a blue void. There we are. Just in case you wanted to emulate what it's like to die. And yep, again, it's zippy, moving around. But this is actually a good example of the 2 different files. So for instance, this is a smaller file, this is a 321, but if I go back now, and I open this one, which is the 480 by 480, which is the butterfly, it's pretty much maybe like 10/10ths of a microsecond slower. You really can't notice it. And then we do the drop down, we zoom, and it's just as zippy dragging it around. Ooh, look at him go. Hello, I am a butterfly. Alright, So we're going to pretty much leave it there for now, and I'll show you how the syncing software works, the hot sync, as you can see there. And I'll show you a couple of... actually, I'll show you one more thing before we go. Okay, here's a note. And we can get a pencil here, and we can draw... Let's say hello. Look at that. Aww. It's so friendly. Okay, well, let's go new. And let's draw a penis. There we go. Again. I'm almost 29 years old. Look at that. And it's a happy one too. Yay, he's excited at being a penis. Alright, let's leave now. And it comes with this terrible game, Crazy Daisy. I'm actually going to remove that immediately once I sync it, because I have no interest in that at all. And it's really, there isn't really much else to show you at this point with so little on it. It's just got some general settings you can modify here. So for instance, if I want to change the color theme, autumn, oh, that's nice. That one reminds me of Maple from Windows 98 Basic, which I think is the one it's set to when you start it up. Blue Line Canyon. I like Canyon. Carnival, which is... Oh, that's awful. That is an eyesore. Chocolate. Chocolate. Sky. Sky's alright. Spring. That's very green. I don't think I'd be able to look at that for an extended period of time. Steel, storm, tree. Yes, yes. Life drive. Ugh. Orange. Velvet's okay. And Zia. Zuri. That sounds like a new gender. Alright, let's go steel and done. There we go. And you can even do shortcuts. Look at that. Ooh, breakfast. I want a shortcut to breakfast. That'll save me time in the morning before work. Buttons, blah blah. Actually, this is an interesting feature. So, these buttons I talked about before, calendar and contacts, you can actually change those to pretty much anything. So, for instance, let's demonstrate this. Let's go done. I've changed it. Actually, I changed that accidentally. So, let's go back to calendar. So, this is what happens when you press the button. Oh, I'm on my calendar. Ooh, exciting. And then I go home, and back to preferences, back to buttons, and then I can change that. Let's say I want to open photos. Oh, I want quick access to my butterflies. So we go back to home, and there we go. Oh, it's my dedicated butterfly button. Well, there we go. There's all the basic features. Well, not all of them, but just a basic overview of the way it kind of operates. Now we're going to have a look at HotSync. We're going to have a look at some software.
Now, in order to make this video, I needed to install the accompanying driver CD, but this wasn't simple. It only runs on Windows 2000 or XP or macOS Panther and up, stopping at the end of the PowerPC era. Naturally, I have everything in between. So I installed XP on a virtual machine, and after much dicking around, I got the PDA to sync with my 2017 iMac, though in a roundabout fashion. The Z22 does not support any sort of USB-style mass storage capability. Instead, its 20 megabytes of usable NVRAM is manipulated using Easy Install that comes on the driver CD. Drag what you want onto your Z22, sync it, and it makes a pleasant beep to tell you it's done. This is actually really awkward. I know Palm aimed for this to be simple to use, but it's annoying not being able to manually sort or delete my files or applications. In addition to that, if the Z22 detects a file format it knows it can't do anything with, it straight up just refuses to sync it. Anyway, as is the style of my channel, after doing all of this I managed to get some games on it, which promptly crashed my Z22 multiple times. Yes, the source ports of Doom and Duke 3D straight up failed to do anything, to the point that my Z22 shit itself, requiring me to force restart it. This is despite everything I've read on the web telling me that these applications are supported by the Z22. To be honest, finding much information on this thing or what applications it is actually supposed to run is really hard, and I did have to do a lot of guessing and fiddling around to get a lot of things working. So I am either doing everything wrong or the Z22 is genuinely not compatible with these applications. It's probably down to something like the screen resolution being too low, or it not supporting sound, or maybe it just lacks necessary hardware components. In other words, they just don't work. Even the games that do work are almost unplayable due to the Z22's directional pad. It's incredibly awkward to use, and I don't have a huge thumb, but it's very difficult to press it down without pressing 2 other buttons. Combine that with the inability to customize the keys in some games, and it's literally impossible to play a lot of games that will even run. The ones that do work well enough are very simple, or feature on-screen tap or drag controls with the stylus. This one, Super Duck, gives me a headache with the low response rate of the screen and the banshee-like shrieks the Z22 emits when you collect items. So that's been my experience with the Z22 so far. Honestly, it's not a great start to my Palm collection, but it's genuinely interesting to see what passed for low-cost Palm hardware during their attempted comeback. I even remember these being quite popular at my high school. However, for a person determined to push every single piece of hardware in my house to play as many games as possible, I just cannot recommend the Z22 right now. It's too limited, too awkward to use, and too locked down to be an enjoyable on-the-go gaming device. That said, it's well suited to its PDA functionality, and I would totally recommend it for that.